All right. Good morning, everyone. We'd like to welcome you to the Fellowship of Spirit Zoom meeting coming to you from beautiful downtown Farmington, New Mexico. And we're happy that you're with us. We're having a beautiful day today. It's only going to get up to about 102. So that's good. But we're going to have low humidity. It's not going to be like Oklahoma or some places where they have huge humidity on top of the heat. It's just overwhelming. So I'd like to welcome everyone here. We are going to have an exciting program today. Steve Barker, our own Steve, is going to give a talk. And he changed it at the last minute, and it's going to be an impromptu thing that he didn't tell us about, but we will figure it out. It will be well worth listening to, and we will get much value out of it nevertheless. So we're going to welcome Steve. Jenny is going to read our spiritual reading, and Margaret Cheesebro will be our pianist and our music for today. We're glad that you're here. If you at some point want to speak, just unmute yourself and speak. Okay? Looks like we have about 8 people on Zoom, and we have more people in the sanctuary today by 1 than we have on Zoom. So we've broken some sort of a barrier. We have 9 people in the sanctuary and 8 people on Zoom. It's been the other way around. We've had more people on Zoom lately. We're doing the hybrid thing, and we are intending to continue to do this. So if you're viewing us from Belize or from Kentucky or wherever you happen to be, don't be afraid. We are going to continue to do the Zoom until further notice. That we like it. We like for more people to enjoy being with us than not. So, all right. So. Let's see, who do we have? We have Steve, and I was going to think about who am I? George, would you do us an opening prayer? George, are you there?
Yes, I had to unmute myself.
That's good. Would you give us an opening prayer, please?
Father, Mother God, I state there is only one source. It is in the heart of all of us. It is alive in every aspect of creation. I and all of you are one with spirit, and it responds to us according to our belief. Knowing that the law of mind is the common medium, I recognize the power of my thoughts. So therefore, I consciously choose how I use this power. God has no boundary about what is possible in bringing forth my perfect situations and experiences. So today, we confidently speak our word in joy and appreciation for everybody that's here, trusting infinite intelligence as we go about the business of being ourselves and the oneness with God and attracting the fullness of Spirit's goodness. So we bless this day. We bless all that is here. All of our thoughts are blossoming in the beautiful experiences of life today. And we are so happy with that. So we surrender, release, and we let it go.
And so it is. Thank you, George. Thank you very much. Announcements. We have some announcements. We will do more later. Is there anything that needs to be said at the beginning of the meeting, Jerry?
No.
Nope. Okay. Well, then we will just jump right in. Margaret Cheesebro is doing our
Statement of faith.
pardon.
Statement of faith.
Okay, but she has been doing our flyer, or what is it called? This
Bulletin.
The bulletin, right, for us every week that we have here in the sanctuary, and it gives us our itinerary. So let's begin with our statement of faith. I need to put this in a thing that I can share on the screen. So anyway, well, those of you here, please join with me. Love produces a flow of energy that I now feel. I love others more than ever, and I feel privileged to be here. Love flows from one person to another as we create an atmosphere of holiness, and so it is. Okay, and Margaret Cheesebro is going to is going to bring us our music today. And I have finally figured out, and we got it together where we can put the words up.
What song number is it, Margaret?
It's 102.
Actually, put it in the bulletin. It's
Oh, it is
102.
me, 102.
Yeah, look in there, 102.
Always has been a guessing game.
Abide with, well, we're slowly getting our act together so that
And
we
I'll
can.
play the first verse through if you could tell
Yeah,
people that.
so, okay, so she is going to play the first verse through, and then we'll play the rest of it. Her singer is absent. Present is Steve, usually sings with her, and he's in Aurora, Colorado, which he will explain later on in our service.
So
Abide
you'll
with
do the
me.
intro as the first verse,
Yeah.
and then
Do you
we'll
guys
sing.
have a songbook?
Okay.
No. I would like to welcome Jim and Lisa Jenkins, who are my first cousin and his wife from around Oklahoma City. They've come to visit me, and I'm just so happy and pleased that they're here. And they're in the sanctuary today, and so welcome them. So thank you. All right, you ready, Margaret? Dawn of day is here. Mist has vanished. Light is shining clear. Truth's glorious message makes the glad earth free. Oh, holy comforter, abide with me. Satisfying, pure, all else is changing. While art sure, who like thyself, Lord God, save and be. Joy eternal, Lord, abide with me. For my wandering sight, shine in my soul, fill me with love and light, heaven's morning grace. Its glory now I see, how in rich blessing thou dost abide in me. I don't do near as good a job as Steve does. I'm not very vocal.
You and I carry a bucket of five or.
Right, yeah. So it's really bad when Bill Clark and I are the only two in sync. And that's horrible.
You just can't hear me because I don't know.
Right. And the microphone is way far away from people. But that is one of the kinks that we are striving to overcome, and we will eventually overcome them, and we will sound like the Mormon Tabernacle Choir at some point. Maybe not in my lifetime, but later on, I'm sure it will come to pass.
Maybe Betty will get back with us and she could really sing.
There you go. Yeah, we have people who can sing. They are just not present. So, okay. We'll now have our spiritual reading with Jenny. Jenny, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
So-
let's go for it.
The reason that we're in Aurora, Colorado, which if you don't already know is a suburb of Denver, we had a memorial for Steve's mom yesterday, and it was wonderful. And so each of us is going to bring you a little chunk of that. And mine is a poem. It's Meditation Before Kaddish, and Kaddish is the Jewish Well, actually, it's a whole bunch of stuff, but we'll just call it mourning and grief. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something, something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away.
Is that it? Thank you, Jenny. All right. Short, sweet, to the point, and very pertinent. We love it. Thank you, Jenny. So they are up in Aurora, Colorado. Steve Barker, if you don't know him, is a long-standing member of Fellowship of Spirit who has served this fellowship valiantly over the years. He knows all about appliances and air conditioning and vacuum cleaners and all sorts of stuff, and he fixes all of our things and was very instrumental when we added on to our sanctuary here and added a kitchen and all that stuff. He played a big part in that project, and we are just grateful. He still comes and does things on a weekly basis. All during COVID, he and Jerry were the two who came and looked after the building and did stuff just to make sure that it was safe and for a whole year. And so Steve Barker is just he's a sweetheart, and we love him, and we're glad that he is here to give us a message today.
We are eternally grateful for his services.
We are eternally grateful for his services. Well said, Bill. I appreciate it. Okay, so without ado, let us welcome Steve Barker.
Good morning, you all, from Aurora, Colorado. And my talk this morning was going to be called The Spirit of Fasting. But life has intruded. We had to do a memorial for my mother who died on May 16th. And that kind of scrambled my brains a little bit. And I didn't really get the talk that I was going to do. I can't give it justice at this point. But I had to prepare another talk because I did a eulogy yesterday for my mother, and I'm going to expand on that a little bit. And so you might say that I have been enlightened with all that's been around.
Oh, sure.
And I'm actually going to use this headband my sister gave me to help illuminate where I'm sitting. And I'm going to give you just a quick tour. Let me see, how do I do that? It isn't going to work. Anyway, behind me is the centerpiece, that was at my mother's memorial from this mortuary where we had the event center. And maybe I can walk around and show you a couple of things in our house. Here's another set of flowers that were brought by our cousins. And this is kind of the flavor of the house. It's a lot of Southwest art, Indian rugs, collectible stuff. And this is what was behind Jenny. So now I'm headed back to where I'm going to rig up my cell phone. Thank you for your understanding and patience. take me just a minute to get it in order. This will make it hopefully so I'm not totally dark faced. Oh, if I could just get it to stay up there. There. Well, anyway, you'll have to put up with whatever I've got here. I got a captive audience. That's always a plus. So I traveled day before yesterday, the night before yesterday, and arrived in Denver. And I got actually 1 hour's worth of sleep before we got up and got ready for the memorial yesterday. And so I'm still suffering a little bit from jet lag. Let me do this a little different here. There we go. Thank you for your patience. And so I'm going to talk about my mother from the thing that I prepared for yesterday. I was born into love. My mom made sure that I always felt it. And I think that was a special thing for me, of course. And as a child, my mommy was everything. I was the firstborn experiment for her, but she never made me feel like I was an experiment. She always just focused on me and what I was able to express, she would marvel at. And she always was my #1 booster. She called me Steffi. And Daddy agreed to send us kids to Catholic school because that's what she wanted. She would say, Steffi, I want your soul to be safe. And that's whenever I'd asked her why we went to that school instead of the one across the street. So during our school days, she'd wake us up with her own version of this song. Good morning to you, good morning to you. We're all in our places with bright shining faces. This is the way we start your new day. Pardon my voice. But fortunately, I was prefaced by Ron. So we always sat around the breakfast table and the dinner table, and we never had any distractions. It was important to us as a family that we all communicate. And so for better or worse, that's where I learned to talk and to think and to form ideas. And we always had very thoughtful, even for breakfast. And so we'd get up and start to go to school. For a while we walked. I ended up riding my bike for a while. And she'd sing this song as we were leaving. Goodbye, good luck, and God bless you. You're on your way to school. But the thing that was special about school for me was I would experience in the cafeteria because I really loved it when she would send me with a box lunch or a sack lunch, because she'd always make make a special sandwich or something of her own invention. And my favorite one that she made was peanut butter, tomato, and potato chip sandwich. And I tell you, it might sound kind of weird, but try it and you'll be addicted. But the thing that really struck me about that is whenever I took a sack lunch or a box lunch, she always put a note in there with it. And the note would be a handwritten one that said something like, oh, you can do it, or I love you for your trying. And do good and be your best, things like that. But in my family, she set the spiritual and tone for all of our happenings. For instance, when us kids would be fighting, or one of us would get angry with the other, or we'd snap back at one of our parents or something like that, she would always admonish us. She would say, remember to speak with love in your voice. And I have carried that with me, and I've used it with my own children. And at times I'll use it in a heated discussion with any number of different people. On one hand, she'd say, I'll always be your mother and love you. Yet on the other hand, she'd say, I'll always be on your side, but you'll have to fight your own battles. I was reminded yesterday morning after, while we were having breakfast here at the house, that she would give us instructions on life. And she would always end it by saying, there will be a test later. So during my teenhood, she left home to work in the Aurora Public School system. She started out as a worker in the cafeteria, and then eventually ended up being the truancy officer, not really truancy, but attendance officer at the high school. And when I was a senior in high school, it was her first year in that position. And my high school graduation was 1969. And as many high schools have, the last 2 digits of the year were what we called Senior Ditch Day. And so on the 69th day of 1969, I took off from school and didn't come to school that day, and along with probably a couple hundred other people. The big difference was that all of their parents wrote them excuses, which went to my mother, and my mother had to accept those excuses. Well, I didn't have an excuse because I didn't even think of asking my mother, because I didn't have a note. She would never lie for me, even to herself. So I grew up and eventually moved out of the house and went out and worked and started my own businesses rather early in life. And I would come back home occasionally and be battle weary and injured and such. And I would tell her, she'd ask me how I was doing. I'd tell her these stories about my battles and the people who had wronged me or something. And I'd say, what do you think of that? And she said, well, those people are more to be pitied and prayed for than censured. And I always carried that with me too. It was a particularly trying time later in my life when I had children. And I was after my divorce, and I was running probably my 3rd or 4th business. And I had planned a camping trip because I could get the kids on the weekends. And so I planned an extended camping trip. And what I did was I gathered as much cash as I could together so that we could, go into town and get showers and eat at the little restaurant at the lake and things like that. And so I had $600 cash in my wallet, and this was the day before. And I was also doing handyman work in the mobile home park where I lived, and a lady needed some help. So I went to her house, and I had the wallet in my back pocket, but I had to sit down, and the wallet was rather bulgy, and I took it out of my pocket and I set it up on the fence post, and went ahead and took care of the lady's problem, and then went home and started to get more prepared for our camping trip, and all of a sudden realized that I didn't have my wallet with me and all that cash. And I freaked out. I went looking at where I thought I'd left it. It wasn't there. I walked all around the trailer park thinking that you know, it might have fallen out of my pocket while I was walking back or something like that. And it was amazing because certain people would come out of their trailers that knew me and walk with me and help me look. And it was like, wow, this is wonderful, but this is also tragic because now I can't go camp. I can't take my kids camping the way I wanted to. Needless to say, I hardly slept that night. But lo and behold, when I woke up the next morning, I had a phone call from the managers of the trailer park, and they told me they had something for me. And so I went to their office, and they handed me an envelope that was unmarked, and inside of it was my wallet with all of my ID, and all of the cash was intact. And I was overjoyed. My camping trip was back. Was going to be a success this time. So, and I couldn't wait to share it with my number one mentor, my mother. So I called her and told her the story about it. And she said, well, that's great. And I said, yeah, Mom, it is, but there's only one problem. She said, well, what's that? And I said, well, they didn't sign their name to the envelope, or, you know, I don't know who it was. And so I can't thank them or give them a reward. And she stopped and said, don't worry, Steffi, they already have their reward. So my mother progressed and got older. She was a very vivacious woman. We have a picture of her on the cover of the Aurora magazine. She was cross-country skiing with other seniors, and she attracted all kinds of people. She knew so many of them, neighbors, co-workers at school, former students, and the like. And she was really a blessed presence in everybody's life. Yesterday at the eulogy, one of my cousins got up, Linda, and she's a principal at a school up in Loveland, Colorado. And she related the story about how when she was graduating from high school, my mother came up to her and pressed a $2 bill into her hand and said, you've got what it takes. You can do whatever you want. Go forth in life, you know, something like that. And just gave her the big encouragement. Well, Linda took that to heart and progressed through her education, further education, and eventually became a school teacher, and eventually became the principal. And so what she has done is every year when the students graduate, she goes out with her own money and buys as many $2 bills as there are students. And as they come up to the podium, she presses a $2 bill into their hands and repeats my mother's statement to them that they can be who they want to be, do whatever they want to do. And it was really gratifying to hear about that. And many of her students, all of my cousins, still have that $2 bill, you know, in their possession. And unfortunately, I spent mine. But it's the thought that counts. So years later, my mother had an unfortunate experience with pharmaceuticals. They had prescribed too many drugs for her, and a couple of them were contraindicated for a condition she had called porphyria. And what they did was she had an episode where all of the sodium in her blood went to zero. And as you know, sodium is salt, it's like seawater. It's what our blood is largely made up of. And threw her into an emergency situation, and she went into the hospital. When they discovered what had happened, they immediately injected a lot of sodium into her body to bring it back to the normal level. And my father at the time thought that that was really what caused her brain to flip over and her to become a totally different person. She was now paranoid and didn't know what was going on. And for the last 15 years, she's been in a state of dementia. Eventually, you know, some of her personality came back, and she was probably one of the most gentle people you would ever meet. And she never got angry with any of her caretakers. My dad died 5 years later, but he made sure that she was going to be taken care of, you know, until her death. So we had paid caretakers that would come and take care of her. And for the last most of a year, she was under the care of hospice. I'm sitting in the living room where her hospital bed was set up. But the thing that would tear me up whenever I'd come home to visit her was, you know, that I couldn't communicate totally with her. We could make eye contact, and I would see some sparkle in her eye, but it was just, you know, my yearning to talk with her. But I was comforted by her own saying, because, you know, even though she was in such a state, I was confident that she had already received her reward. And since she's died now, and I think that she's fully enjoying it. And but she was responsible for a lot of my searching in life. She was a very devout Catholic, but she was also a liberal Catholic, and she would not shun anybody or put down anybody else's ideas outwardly, because one of her favorite sayings was, "Different is good." And so she might have been a pioneer, you might say, of diversity, and that. She adopted the best of what was around her, and she'll always be an inspiration to me. She's responsible for how my mind and my spirit has formed, and I thank her. Here I am at home. I'm kind of going through a catharsis right now. I'm with my brother and sister, and my longtime mate, and this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for me to not only affirm who I am, but to look forward to who I will be. And I thank you all for letting me substitute this. I promise you that I will give a talk on fasting at some point, and it will be a good one. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. We were looking forward to your talk on fasting, but I want to thank you for sharing your time with us. And now we have a better understanding of why you're such a good person. You got it from your mother. I guess the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. And so now we understand a little bit more about you, and we're grateful for that. We're grateful for your talk. We're grateful for your sharing. Thank you very much. I'll open it up and let anybody that wants to talk, ask you questions or say something. Does anybody here in the sanctuary have something they'd like to say to Steve? Well, you guys, when are you coming back, Steve?
It's not decided yet. I may spend another night here to be with my brother and sister and give some closure to some issues that have arisen since my mother's passing. But I will be back probably by Tuesday at the latest. So.
Well, I met Steve about 25 years ago when he first moved to Aztec, and we became fast friends, and we still are very, very close and consider each other brothers, and we're just happy to be able to join. We were in other organizations together, and so Steve is a very special person for me, and I just wanted y'all to know that. So anyway, so there we go. That was good. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you all.
All right, Margaret. Wait, I'm going to do the celebration of abundance. Jim, would you come and pass the basket for us? What we do in this church is we put our hand over our heart with what we have to give, and we say, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Through infinity, I am prosperous. Okay.
Giving it to an out of towner.
Yeah.
If he runs for the door when no one comes.
Well, the bad part about it is you guys know where I live. So. All right. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. Okay. Well, Steve usually does that, but he's far away. So up in Colorado. Okay. Margaret, are you ready? So, does someone want to come up here and sing? I've got to get your other.
So I'll play
Yeah.
that
See, what
first
was,
verse as an intro.
and this one is Morning is Broken?
Count your blessings.
Count your blessings. Okay, I need to get it so that it's ready. Is it up there?
It is.
All right.
Okay.
Good job, Mark.
I have figured
Intro.
that, I think I have figured that one out.
Maestro.
You can do good.
Not really.
Talks. All right. Thank you, Margaret.
Oh, you're welcome.
I want y'all to know the reason I'm not singing so well, I didn't wear my singing shoes today, so that's as good an excuse as any. So that explains that. Well, Fellowship of Spirit is dedicated to sharing love and being supportive of one another as we go through life, and to share this spiritual journey that we're on, and to learn more about the universe and ourselves. We have a book study on Sunday morning. We read a variety of things that are of interest to us, that expands our consciousness, and we're able to share with one another as we do through that. Right now we are studying Jane Roberts' one of the Seth books. Which one is it, Jim? What is?
Look at the bud.
I don't know. I couldn't remember. Anyway, it's
The
Jane.
nature of personal reality.
The nature of personal reality, and so we just had a good sharing session this morning. On Wednesday, we have Susan Barnes from Belize, who leads our Course in Miracles group, and we've been meeting there. Well, that's what attracted me to this church. I've been a Course in Miracles student for about 25 or 30 years, something like that. But whenever we started back up here with our brother Mike Rose, and that's how I got hooked into this church about 8 or 9 years ago. And we enjoy that. Susan, do you have anything to say?
We're going to be talking and continuing talking about the holy instant, because it seems like there's so much to be said about it. And as Jerry often says, the discussions are really phenomenal. And it really, because it all pertains, it's not just spiritual knowledge, it's how can we use this in our daily lives to make our lives so much better. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Spirituality for me has to be practical, or else it's just ego, for me. So anyway, thank you, Susan. And then on Thursday evening at 6:30, we have a Power of 8 meeting. Come up here and talk to us about that, Margaret.
Oh, where am I?
Oh, let's see. Let's get us back over here. There you go. Margaret leads our Power of 8 meeting. Go ahead, Margaret.
Well, the Power of 8 meets at 6:30 p.m. every Thursday, and we do it on Zoom. And it is quite wonderful. We have a list of people that we are sending our loving thoughts to, and our healing light and loving thoughts to. And there have been changes in people. Sometimes there doesn't seem to be as much change as we would like. Others, there's a big change. And so we really feel like it's important. And Carol Littletree, she handles it when I'm not able to be there, and she does a wonderful job. So we're covered by somebody's going to be there every Thursday to lead it.
Margaret,
Well, thank you, Margaret.
kind of explain just in a nutshell what the Power of 8.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That'd be good.
Yes. It was the idea of, and sometimes I can remember her name, and sometimes Lynn McTaggart. Yeah, she started it. She decided that she was going to have these groups, either individually or over the internet, to meet and focus on certain things, and in certain individuals, certain situations, and see what would happen. And there were huge changes that took place, not only in the lives of the people who were being healing light and loving thoughts were sent to, but to the people who were involved themselves. They had changes in their lives. And I can tell you that's true, because it's happened with me, where I've been, focusing on other people, and something opens up and changes and is almost miraculous in my life. And I think other people may have experienced similar things.
Mhm.
So we continue to do that every Thursday at 6:30. So Zoom in to us if you'd like to join, and that would be wonderful.
Thank you, Margaret. One of the ways that we become better is by trying to help others and sending out love and light. What we put out is what we get back. And that's one of our basic philosophies that we practice here. Okay. Are there any announcements?
Would you like to introduce the rest of your family?
I would. I don't know. how we can get you on camera, but I want you to come up here, all you guys, all 4 of you. Yeah, come up here and come up here.
You know me, I like to come up.
Yeah, so come up here.
All these years
Yeah.
on, we thought you were born under a cabbage.
Well, yeah, but now you can see I come from good stock.
We cultivated the cabbage.
So, we can get into, this is, some of my family. This is my cousin Jody,
Hi.
and she lives in Albuquerque with her husband Mike, who is next to her, well, to where? Rio Rancho, I'm sorry, there's a big distinction there. And then, and then Lisa Jenkins and Jim Jenkins, and Jim is Jody and Jim are my first cousins on my mother's side, which their last names was Jenkins. And I just love them to death. And they have, right out of that clear blue sky, just decided they were going to come and visit me. And I'm just so grateful for that. We don't get to see each other. They live in Oklahoma and Albuquerque, and this is good. We're going to go have some lunch and just spend the day together. And Jim and Lisa, I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to spend the next couple of days together just enjoying each other's company. And we thank you for coming, and hope that you enjoyed our service.
Thank you.
Let's give them. I want y'all to know this is not the Ron Holloway show. This is a community effort. We put this on and to share that it takes several people, all of us together to make this happen. And we're really fortunate that we have that COVID brought us the Zoom thing, because it really widened our footprint on the world. We're able to communicate with more people far and near. And one of the things I'm really grateful for is that today we were able to memorialize Steve's eulogy to his mother. And it is recorded, Steve, and it will be posted on YouTube, I guess, from now on, so that your story about your mother will be recorded. And you probably didn't record your eulogy yesterday at the funeral, but this is a good thing, and we were very, very happy to do that for us as you came and shared with us. We'll make sure that that's posted, and your children and grandchildren and anybody can go to YouTube at any time in the future and look at that and learn about your mother's life. So we thank you.
I thank you, and I thank Fellowship of Spirit for having this venue. It's a wonderful thing.
Well, that's good. Well, would anyone like to offer, since Steve is, Mike Rose is not here today to do our Lord's Prayer in the Aramaic. No, we don't do that. So does anyone like to offer a benediction prayer? Bill, would you want to come up and do us a benediction prayer, or no? If not, I will. I'm not as scared, but I just don't like to do everything all the time.
I wasn't ready to go ahead.
Are you ready now?
No.
Oh, you're not ready now.
Go ahead.
Okay. What he's telling me is that he's going to pass and do it at a later time, but today.
Not what I said.
I was just. You mean I was just adding words to your? I'm sorry about that, but that's my little way of tricking him into doing stuff later. You have to be creative when you moderate for people, don't you? Creative. Anyway, we love it. We love each other. We love this time that we have been able to spend with each other. And even if I didn't address you, we are glad that you're here. I see that I'm going to change it to gallery views so I can see all who is here. So we have the Little Trees. We have George Harris up in Durango. We have Steve up in Aurora, Colorado. We have Lily Rose, and she's probably about a mile away at her house here in Farmington. And we have Yvette, who is Gaia Love, and she is in Boulder, Colorado. Is that correct? So she's in Boulder. We have Susan Barnes from Belize. We don't have any of our California people here today, but they'll come at a later time. And Mark Wolf. Mark Wolf, is he going to be speaking next week? Mark Wolf will be here next week, coming to us from Western Kentucky. And I'm sure that he will have a great talk, just like he always does. He has got just a fountain, a reservoir of spiritual wisdom that is just phenomenal. And we'll enjoy that also next week. So, in the meantime, Father, Mother God, we thank you for allowing us to come together today to enjoy each other's company, share with each other our loves and a portion of our lives, so that we can know that we are not walking through life alone, that we have other human beings and a God that loves us, that provides for us in so many ways. Thank you for protecting us and keeping us safe as we travel the roads of life. Watch over us and all that we love and all that we touch, all that we care about, all the people that make our lives possible and make it worth living. We ask these things in the name of the Christ Energy. Amen. So, all right. I'm going to stop the recording.